Politics lead. Long Islanders don't blush easy, but Congressman Peter King says his office has been bombarded with vile phone calls over his criticism of Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Take a listen.
I haven't heard such vile, profane, obscene language. Now, I'm not saying Ted Cruz is responsible for all his supporters, but he has tapped into a dark strain here in the American political psyche.
Now, to be fair, Congressman King hasn't pulled any punches in his criticism of the Texas senator lately.
Ted Cruz is a fraud, and he'll no longer have any influence in the Republican Party.
But what's with all the Republican on Republican violence? Let's bring in our panel. Columnist for the Washington Post, Clinton Yates, CNN senior political analyst and editorial director for National Journal, Ron Brownstein, and CNN contributor and former advisor to Mitt Romney, Kevin Madden. Kevin, historically in this town, I've seen Democrats with the circular firing squad, but there are some real tensions bubbling up right now between different factions of the Republican Party.
Yeah, there are, and I think there have always been historical tensions too. The purists versus the pragmatists. And I think in this case, you see someone like Peter King. He's much more interested in playing to an audience back home that has some centrist Democrats, and that's how he gets reelected. And he's been here for a long time because he's been very focused on trying to find that common ground. And what you have is, on the other side, the purists like Ted Cruz, who believe, look, the reason we didn't win in 2012 against Barack Obama, the reason that we don't have two majorities in the House and Senate is because we haven't been as confrontational right now with this Washington status quo that many people outside of Washington believe needs to be confronted more. And that's really what we're seeing it just play out now in real time.
Ron, you've got a piece coming out for National Journal arguing that Cruz has eclipsed Senator Marco Rubio as the frontman for the Tea Party faithful, should he choose to run for president. The big question, of course, will they get behind him in 2016?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen, whether he can personally channel the emotions that he's tapped into. But Kevin's point is exactly the right one. I look at Cruz's rise as really symptomatic of a bigger change in the Republican Party. After the 2012 election, after President Obama won, when Mitt Romney won a higher share of the white vote than Ronald Reagan did in 1980, the dominant impulse in the party was we had to reach out. We had hit a demographic dead end. We had to find new ways to reach voters we hadn't attracted before. And Marco Rubio's negotiation of immigration reform really was the symbol of that. Now, I think the current in the party is moving in the direction Kevin suggested, which is the problem is that we didn't turn out enough of our base. We didn't give them the true undiluted medicine. And that is, I think, what is really the tailwind behind Cruz. It's that argument that our real problem is we have not been conservative enough, we have not been confrontational enough, and we have not done enough to turn out our traditional base. Difficult reality in terms of the numbers, but no doubt that is, I think, the argument that is winning in the Republican Party this year.
Clinton, when we talk about the government shutdown, you had a great column about this in the Washington Post. What does it really mean for people who work for the government?
Well, what it means for people who don't work for the government is that, A, you don't necessarily know whether or not you are essential or non-essential, which is, again, sort of a difficult thing to deal with. But also in this town specifically, not this town that a lot of people refer to, but the place where we are sitting right now, the District of Columbia.
The people who work at the Navy Yard.
Yes,
who got
people
killed.
Who work at the Navy Yard, people like that, people at the National Zoo, people at the museums, they're going to be out of jobs. And because this city is unfairly taxed and has no representation in Congress, the appropriation means that they are forced to shut down. But I will give this city credit for saying, you know what, we're not doing that. We're going to continue to run because we raise our own money. We're going to do what we like. And so in this town where we live, you will see life continue to go on, hopefully, presuming Congress doesn't decide to take the city to court.
Kevin, what's your take on the government shutdown? Do you think that the Republican Party is going to be blamed if it happens?
Look, you know, I believe that the headlines on this are already written because so many that people outside of Washington rely on inside Washington to tell this story, they look at it through the lens of the 1995 shutdown. And that was historically, when people look at the history of that, they believe it was bad. It put Republicans in a different
Not the Tea Party folks, because they're new.
And they don't. And that's what's something that is very interesting is the outsized effect that so many of these folks in the Tea Party and the Tea Party caucus up on Capitol Hill are having as part of the tactical strategy here, which is that we need to confront the status quo here in Washington and send a message that we're not going to do it the same way. And this isn't about managing sort of the establishment power base instead.
Just for historical accuracy, going into the shutdown in the fall of '95, Bill Clinton was under 50% in approval and was consistently trailing Bob Dole in the early head-to-heads on the '96 race. During the shutdown, he went over 50, went ahead of Dole, and neither one of those things ever reversed. He never trailed Dole again, and he never went below 50.
But wasn't Bill Clinton in a stronger position than Barack Obama is right now. I think I read in the Washington Post, or no, I'm sorry, in the New York Times, in their new poll, that Clinton was 11 points. There was a differential in
Clinton was under 50 in approval as well. I don't remember if he was down in the low 40s as Obama. I mean, look, the fact that nothing is getting done in Washington and this unrelenting sense of conflict at a time when people are increasingly anxious about the economy again is taking its toll on everybody, including the president. So I would argue that actually John Boehner and Barack Obama both go into this weaker in some ways
real quick,
than you would
the two
expect.
big challenges that we had too coming out of 2012 was that we increasingly become defined as a party by what we were against, and we needed to show that we could govern. When the government shuts down, that becomes increasingly difficult to do.
I want to play some sound from President Obama today. He took on a claim from a Republican legislator in New Hampshire that Obamacare was the most dangerous legislation ever.
You had a state representative somewhere say that it's as destructive to personal and individual liberty as the Fugitive Slave Act. Think about that. Affordable health care is worse than a law that lets slave owners get their runaway slaves back.
Why bring up the guy who said it was New Hampshire's Bill O'Brien? Clinton, why bring up what some state representative has to say, other than to stoke?
I don't know. I mean, I think what his point there is trying to make is that this sort of obvious sort of Bush League brinksmanship has become too much of an issue. Like, people are not in the actual perspective of what this actually means for America. And I think what he's saying there is that this is so ridiculous. You need to understand where certain people are coming from on this end who are opposing it, and that's where they're at. Do you want to align yourself with that? I don't know.
By the way, real quick, even if this even if the health care law survives all of the cascading challenges of first the shutdown, then the debt ceiling, you've basically got a situation where half the country is implementing it and half the country is actively resisting it. We haven't seen anything like this on any other entitlement program, this broad a resistance across basically half of America.
All right, Clinton Yates, Ron Brownstein, Kevin Madden.